Hi guys, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Van.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
All right, we're live.
Okay, we're live.
Yeah,
This is our first
Becca.
time
Yeah,
with our. We have Zoom now.
we officially have a Zoom account.
Wow, look at us. We're so fancy.
Yeah, we're a low budget operation over here. Low expense, no frills, but we just upgraded. So
Well, Skype was, if you didn't notice in the Link episodes, Skype was cutting out pretty bad with
yeah.
Link. And after that, I was like, we need to change.
Well, there's like subtleties you don't really realize, like the background noises. I think there's something with like a certain decibel that I don't know if other softwares do this, but I know Zoom does this. I'm sure Google Meet and other things can, but they block out background noise. So if somebody's tapping on the table or you're scratching your cheek or whatever, if it's below a certain decibel, you don't hear it, which is great. If there's a fan
Yeah,
going on in the background, so it's like
can,
it's got to
can
be
you
better,
hear the
right?
train? Can you hear the train in the background for me?
No, I don't hear that.
Well, I mean, it was happening. That means that, see, if we had had Zoom all along from the beginning, Charles would have never happened. Charles would have never been a thing.
Mm, yeah.
And that is a sad moment.
Yeah, that's a deep cut. We would have never
That's a
had
deep cut.
the third host for the longest time.
Yeah, and Charles is just a very important part of our podcast.
Hmm. He
Yeah,
didn't chime in very often, but when he did,
he was important.
he let you know.
He'll let you know. So, how you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing very good. I was getting back into the swing. Last week was the first full week after vacation, so I started off pretty heavy. I had the Berea Craft Festival last weekend, just a
Mm-hmm.
few days ago. That was my fourth time there, so it was a pretty good show, and we're to another week. So yeah, I'm kind of getting back in the groove. I got some projects to get done with like custom orders, and every time I go to
Are you gonna?
shows, I get like new connections and new projects that come up, which is good. I mean, I think those naturally come up the more you're out in front of the public with, just random asks people have. But
Yeah.
but yeah, you were gonna ask something.
How'd you do?
How did I do? So I sold $4,005.
Oh man, that's
Pretty good.
a
Pretty good.
that's pretty good, but less than last year, right?
No, it was actually $65 more than last year. I thought it was less, but I don't, maybe I was thinking 2 years before. I think 2 years before I might have done really good.
Yeah, you did like
Or
6 grand.
yeah, there was a little more, but I can't remember exactly what it was. But I was looking back at my report from last year and it was pretty much right around the same, which is surprising. But it was really fucking hot this weekend.
Yeah.
It was in the 90s, and the crowds kind of ebb and flow. Like Friday's a lot of older crowds because, if they don't work a 9 to 5 or whatnot, there's a lot of older folks that come through on Friday, and it was pretty dead the second half of the show,
Yeah.
which is a long time to be pretty dead. Like 4 hours of the day was very slow. Um, Saturday, biggest, heaviest day, and then Sunday was only dead the last maybe 2 hours. So, um, but it was good. It was good sales, good, nice and consistent, traffic and all that stuff. My parents came in town again. They've been doing that the last 3 years, I think. So they come in and enjoy the festival weekend, and we, go out to dinner and do the things. And my mom always likes walking around those shows, so being there multiple days is kind of nice because she likes to talk to people, kind of like I do when I'm walking around. So,
Yeah, for sure.
um, And then Carlos just sits in the back most of it and just chills out and got his fan and maybe his little towel with the cold water
Yeah,
on it or whatever. So he's just hanging
his
out in the
blue
back.
towel.
Yep. And then he's helping wrap work and talk to people sometimes. And it's kind of funny because I'm more of a I'm more of a let people browse kind of thing, especially early in the day because a lot of people are coming through and they're gonna make a pass and then they're gonna come back because it's not a big show, but I'm in the very front of the show. So there's a lot of booths to see. If I was at the very back and I'm like, okay, they're not gonna make a lap back to me, then I would maybe talk to them a lot more. But I'm more of a, hey, how's it going? And kind of letting it breathe more. And he was chatting them up a
Yeah.
little bit. If I happened to be facing the front table and there was people there, he would chat to somebody on the side table. But we got some sales from it, which is good, but it's just kind of funny because like people were coming up to the table and like he knows a little bit about the soda firing or whatever, and he was like, "Those are soda fired," and and they were like, "Well, what's that?" And then he's like talking to him about it, and I'm like, "Okay," but it's just funny. Um,
He's so proud.
yeah, and then
I
and
love that.
then my mom was helping out a little bit at a couple times, but yeah, it was pretty good. So, what else? What else? It it went pretty smoothly. I didn't have too many new things there this year. I did have a lot more garlic graters, so those were kind of
The seller.
those were the big seller. I sold 33 garlic graters
Damn.
and I I had like I could it's one of those you bring some and I brought way too many spoon rests. I had maybe 25 spoon rests sold and I had two bins of spoon rests plus stuff on the table plus another bin of maybe 40. So like if I had that bin of 40 were garlic graters, I probably could have sold another 10 or so garlic graters.
Yeah.
But like I was sending something to I think Isaac because I was telling him about selling those and I think it was 59 items between the garlic graters and the spoon rests that I sold. So that's 59 times 20 because they were all 20
Damn.
bucks. That's almost $1,200
Yeah.
in $20 items. So, um,
You remember
shit.
when those were $15 and you refused to up your price?
Yeah,
I'll never let you forget that
I
and
know.
how
And
right I was.
they were 18 for a bit too, so I didn't jump from
Yeah.
15 to 20, but yeah, so I am projecting and calling right now. I feel like I could sell 50 of them at Woodland in Lexington.
Okay.
We'll see. But they always go crazy for the oil bottles. So I think there's a little combo here. As long as I have the product there, I think
Yeah.
there's potential. And there was only one lady that asked for a trial. She was like, "How does that work? I don't really understand it." And she was thinking about doing it, and she's like, "Well, I don't want to get the smell on me." And then I offered, and she was like, "Okay, I didn't really want to ask you because I didn't want to put that on you, but if you're willing to, like, sure, I would love to see how it works." So she ended up
You
buying
should
one,
take,
which is good.
I wonder if you could take like a carrot and do that instead of like a garlic because it would smell less,
hmm
but
It
it'd
doesn't
be, I
smell
think,
that much because I'm outside, but
okay.
yeah, it was only I only I did it late on Saturday. So there wasn't too many people that were grossed out by it or
Yeah.
maybe actually I think it was early on Sunday. So we got all the way to the last day before anybody asked and it was good, but I could show them and be like, okay, that's the consistency that it's going to end up looking like. So
Yeah.
I think people do enjoy that rather than using their imagination a little bit, but um yeah, I constantly leave. I think that having this sign there is really important to just have a little bit of a question mark in their head. They're like, "How is that a garlic grater?" and then it starts a
Right.
conversation, and then it gives me the opportunity to talk about it. Because my dad was like, "Why don't you put a sign that talks about demonstrating it?" And I'm like, it's more of a conversation starter. I want them to ask me about it. I don't care if I have to repeat myself because it starts the conversation and it
Right.
registers in their head because people don't read anyways. So I don't
Nope.
mind. I kind of want them to show that look on their face before I engage them, and
Yeah.
it's a good little conversation starter. I think it also helps
Uh,
that they have the lip on them so they can be spoon rests, and there's some
for sure.
without, so it gives them the option if they want to go
Yeah,
either way with it.
100%. Because sometimes you like use it as a garlic grater for some time and then you like find a garlic press that you absolutely love and you
Hmm.
never use it again. And it's nice to just have it be there as a base
Yeah,
of
I would
something if you need
prefer
it.
items to have more than one function if they can,
100%.
because having such a niche item like a juicer, it's like how often do you pull out a juicer? I don't know. But
Yeah, like unless you have a like I feel like juicers would be really popular in California because you probably have a fruit tree in your backyard
right.
and then you use it all the time. Like Jen uses her juicer probably daily,
Hmm.
to make orange juice or tangerine juice or whatever, like lemon juice, because they have all of those trees, which, by the way, so unfair that we don't
Yeah.
have all those trees.
Yeah,
Like,
that year-round weather is perfect for that.
it's just such a freaking bummer that we have to buy fruits.
And in
I,
Florida, they have mango trees,
ugh,
like South Florida. There was a guy I used to
dude,
work with that lived in Fort Lauderdale area, and he had a mango tree outside of his apartment building.
Jen has an avocado tree. Like,
Oh, really?
they're $1. And like
Wow.
on the cheap end, avocados are like $1.50, $2. I'm like, God damn it.
Even if they're
I,
small, I mean, they're free.
yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, moving on. Um,
So good show.
that's good.
Good
I'm
show.
glad.
I got a little time before my next one, so I'm happy about having some restocking time and also just catch up on some smaller projects, commissions, wholesale. I got a wholesale order to get 40 oil bottles ready for that Lexington show mid
Oh,
next month. So that's one of my regular customers, and
oh yeah, I remember this one. Okay.
they're really close to Lexington. So it's one of those that I reached out maybe a week or two ago and was just saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be at this show coming up. Just want to let you know I would love to bring you an order there if you're ready for it." So she's gonna
Yeah,
get 40 of them that should hold her over through the
the
winter. And
holidays.
if even though it's July, I mean, hey, if she gets 40 in August and she sells half of them and she reaches out to me in late October and I'm gonna be in the area again, hey, I can sell another 25 or whatever.
Yeah,
A lot of that is just being persistent to reach out kind of
for sure.
innocently and just say, "Hey, I'm just looking out. I want to save a trip." Like, you know. And I think I can push it. It's like I can do that.
For sure.
So we'll see.
So tell us about your wholesale predicament, or do you want to tell us about that later?
I can tell. Yeah, I can talk about it. Oh, I did want to mention I did get, or we could save that for later. I was gonna say I did get something in the mail, but we can talk about that later.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
so wholesale predicament. I was at the. Oh, it wasn't related to the show this weekend, but I got a message on Instagram that was from it's from a small clay studio that's in Frankfurt,
Kentucky.
Kentucky, which is not too far from me. And they just wanted to get in contact about a potential wholesale. They asked if I did it and if I could send over some info. So I was like, yeah, let me get that over to you. I'll send you the, packet. I made that packet for the wholesale show that I did in March. So I was pretty prepared and I've got all that info. So it's pretty easy when somebody asked. And I also mentioned, by the way, there's a shop that currently wholesales my work that is in your town. It's actually four doors down. It's a block. It's like a block away. So so I also mentioned, I'm gonna reach out to this other store that wholesales my work just to check in and make sure um we can work together and stuff like that. And I reached out to my current wholesaler and then they replied back. I was it was kind of a hey, this business reached out. They are close to you in Frankfurt there. I just wanted to kind of see if there's a way that we could work together in a
Yeah,
in a way that we're not stepping on each other's toes
right.
and also making you aware so that I'm not kind of going behind your back or something like that. And you find out about it without me reaching out. So they replied back mentioning, yeah, um we've had some not problems, but just to alleviate any issues in the past with, pricing differences or return policies, you know, um, customer issues because they're so close. Where did I get it? I got it in Frankfurt. I don't know which store I got it from, or um, and then also just the proximity of selling so close. There's a paragraph in the artist agreement mentioning that I am selling exclusive to them in
Ah,
Frankfurt slash Franklin County. So there was a clause in the agreement that I signed with them that I would need to be exclusive with them unless there is a short-term pop-up event style thing where, let's say for instance, I go to this clay studio and I do a workshop and I bring my
right.
work to sell there. I could do it in that circumstance. They would want me to mention to my wholesaler wants me to mention that I'm doing that just so that
Mm-hmm.
they're aware I'm going to be in the area and that, there's a little call out that says you can also purchase my stuff at this location 7 days a week in case
Yeah.
people are local and they want to buy more of it. Um, so so that's kind of how that worked out. And
So they said no,
yeah, they were
in
basically
short.
like, hey,
Yeah.
if you want to do this, if and you feel like that business is going to be better for your work, we would be willing to sell you back your work at cost.
Yeah.
So that they were basically like, hey, like pick one or the other, you know. So yeah, I basically just said that, thanks for letting me know and clarifying that that's part of the agreement that we agreed on. I wouldn't want to violate that, and I'll let the business know that
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to work with them in a different capacity. So I replied back to the Clay Studio and said, hey, looked at my agreement with them. I'm not able to sell the work in a gallery capacity, wholesale capacity, but if you'd like to work together, I did see that you were hosting guest artists to do workshops and that kind of thing. So I did offer that, and they replied back. I haven't officially reached back out after they reply back, but they mentioned like, hey, we would love to do some workshop where you're talking about um produce because I did mention that I do a lot of like production work that like
Yeah.
efficiencies and stuff like that. So they were like, we'd love a workshop that's tied to production and wholesale, where you're kind of talking about the two and how you approach that and handle wholesale
Yeah.
clients and things like that. So I think we might go that route. I just got to give them some rates and probably work through like timeline and things like that. It's a smaller studio, so it's not like the gallery is the focal point of the studio. It's just the front part for, people that are passing through and tour tourists and whatnot. They mainly focus in classes and teaching and that kind of thing. So um it wouldn't have made sense for me to pick the clay studio that's smaller that
Right.
likely wouldn't be as big as a business that's focused on selling artwork, which is what the current wholesaler is doing. So, um, so yeah, that's kind of how I approached
And
it. So,
yeah. And he asked me before he sent the email, and my my stance on this is that you have one store per zip code,
Hmm.
unless it's a huge in like a huge like New York City. But
You call it
you
like
know, that's
Texas or something like that, zip code exclusivity or something, something like that.
yeah, something like that. And I heard that from somebody who was a Candy Relics, who was a wholesaler in Washington. And so that's kind of like what I have always done. And it's a good, I mean, it's good to kind of just pay attention to and
Yeah, I think it's
being,
always good if you know they're close. I didn't realize they were 4 doors down. I thought they were a couple blocks away or a few. It's not a big town,
yeah,
but I visited the clay studio back when I dropped my work off there last, or I was in town. I think I was jurying for the Kentucky Crafted program, and I happened to be in Frankfurt, and I stopped in to Broadway Clay and the current wholesaler and saw their stuff. So yeah, it was
yeah,
nice to see the space, and it was nice for them to reach out. And they wouldn't have known that, oh, you're already represented from this business.
right. Yeah.
So,
That's not something, I mean, like, unless they go in there all the time and it's like, oh, I want to poach this. Is it poach?
yeah,
Poach this artist.
yeah. I don't think I did when I was visiting them, I did like take a photo in the gallery and just took a,
Hmm.
and tagged them. And that was our only DM exchange before that. So they could have just
Yeah,
randomly stumbled upon me. I don't know how they find me, but that's where,
for sure.
having I always tag things on Instagram with Kentucky artist and Kentucky proud and Kentucky crafted and all that stuff. So I think that ties into a lot of how some people can find you if they're local,
Yeah,
whether it's businesses or individuals that are looking to support local people. So yeah. So I'm fine
nice.
to step back from, getting a little ambitious, but hey.
Getting a little
And then
spicy
it's
there.
like, okay, I'm not gonna, I understand. I signed an agreement. I can't like it's not worth violating that and risking
Yeah,
it. So,
for sure. For shizzle.
what's going on with you? What's new? I saw you were teaching.
Uh,
Were you teaching a clay
y-
class?
yeah, yeah. Melissa and Eric convinced me to do a beginner's wheel class for their clay camp here. And so I did.
So
And
was it just a one-off class or is it a multi-day,
yeah, no,
multi-week
no, no.
class?
It's just like a one-off workshop. And it was a lot of fun, like it's fun to teach classes when you are at peak, you know? Like I feel like I'm at my peak teaching experience
Hmm. Yeah.
moments, I can pretty much handle almost any student, um, except for ladies that don't listen. Ladies and gentlemen that don't listen, and will not listen. Those people just drive me absolutely insane. But yeah, so this last week, let's see. I went to Krazel Art Fair up in St. George, Michigan, and met Heidi there, and baby Andrew was in that. And
Hmm.
so we went and I surprised him. He didn't know I was coming. He thought that just Heidi was coming. And so went and surprised him there. And that was fun. And then he came back and we had dinner at the Beals. Like he had dinner at the Beals that Sunday night. And oh my God, it was so funny. Melissa was like, yeah, let's have what was she gonna have? I don't even know what we were originally gonna have. Oh, tacos. We were originally gonna have tacos, and then she was like, I don't have taco seasoning. And so she goes, well, pasta? And we're like, sure. And it was beef. It was just like ground beef, which um Like, I think that most people would agree that Italian sausage is what you want to use for like a spaghetti type thing, not necessarily ground beef. It's
Hmm.
fine.
Unless you're
So
making
she
a meat
adds,
sauce, but that
right.
still ground beef? Normally meat sauce,
I
or is
guess I
it
just
can
don't love
be
the taste.
sausage?
Yeah, I don't love the taste of ground beef as opposed to like I'm gonna choose Italian sausage every single
Well,
time.
ground beef is in lasagna normally. I think we make meat sauce with lasagna that's ground beef, but you've got
Yeah,
some
I
sauces in
don't.
there to help.
Yeah, I don't. I always
Hmm.
use Italian sausage. I think the ground beef is garbage and that kind of stuff. But not it doesn't matter. So anyway, she adds Italian sausage to it. And then I was like, I have mushrooms up in the van, so we walk up to the van, get mushrooms and asparagus. And then she adds pesto, and then she's like, this doesn't look like enough pesto. Should I add red sauce? And
Oh
then we
my
had a
gosh.
conversation about having red sauce versus white sauce. And then we went with red sauce. And then she was like, let's do orzo instead of like spaghetti. And so we were like, what if you just put the orzo in the dish? And by the end, we
Orzo
had
is the
like
small spaghetti noodle, right? It's the
it's the one that
tubular,
looks
but
like
it's really
rice.
small.
No, it's the one that looks like rice. So
Oh, but it's
and
actually
so
pasta.
it's actually pasta. Yeah. And so she puts the orzo in it. And like there was onions and we had the mushrooms. We did not add the asparagus. It was like the goulash of goulashes. It was delicious.
Like an
It was
Italian
really
stir
good.
fry almost.
Yeah, it was really good. But we were just like giggling the whole time just because of how ridiculous it was and what we could like we kept on adding things. Um and so that was fun. And then yeah, I did my first beginner's class in what feels like forever last
Hmm.
night and only one person was like a hot mess, but she figured it out at the end. Have you ever had students? They're like my favorite type of students, but they have to be a certain type of personality because if they're a perfectionist personality, then it just makes you really sad because they never get it. Like the students that when the wheel stops, they just like touch the clay all the time. They just like rub their hands all over the clay and like
Yep.
have to touch it all the time. And I'm like, if you keep touching the clay, you're not gonna make anything.
I hate that. You make the they do that and you say something like you should only be touching it when the wheel is spinning. That's
Yeah.
just like a subtle thing, but they don't listen to that. They're like, "No, it looks clean. I'm getting it cleaner or I'm getting it more
Or
fixed."
I just like have to touch it, like have to touch it. And so I was just so adorable. I had one student like that and she just had to touch it. And I was like in my head I'm like, "Please, please, please let her have something by the end of the class. Like, I
Right.
want her to have like a piece." And once we did like a few like exercises to kind of help her with like centering and stuff, all of a sudden I look over and she has this like 6-inch tall cylinder.
Nice.
I'm like, where did that come from? And it was, yeah, so that was really fun. It was all women, and I didn't say like a cuss word at the very beginning because, like, like to be respectful until somebody starts cussing, then I'll whatever, you know.
Right.
And then like it was funny when they found out that other people cussed because like one person cussed and then the one person's like ah shit and then the next person's like ah fuck and then
And they're
and then it
like,
just like
"All right,
yeah and so that was fun.
raising the stakes."
Yeah, no, it was great. It makes you really proud as a teacher to have students that have a piece at the end, like a
How
centered
many
piece.
students were there?
There was five. There was supposed to be six, but one of them couldn't make it. And yeah, but there was five.
I feel like 5 to 6 is a pretty good number.
I think it's a great number,
Once you get
honestly.
over
It's like
6 to 8 to 10, that's kind of
that's
unmanageable for one
tough.
person.
I think it's hard, especially when it's like a beginner, like, hey, we're gonna be like all over the board and and everybody's at a different point and it's just a hot mess. But yeah, no, they were really great. And oh, I want to give my little tidbit of how we did the glazing because I learned this at the Tilted Kiln, and I think that it's very, very helpful for anybody that has a community studio or does classes like this where it's one off where you have to glaze the piece. So
Mm.
what we did was you lay out all your glazes that you're going to be using and you number them. And like in this case, the glazes aren't actually numbered at the Tilted Kiln. They are all numbered, but I just put a t piece of tape and put the number in front of it and then took a picture of it and wrote the actual glaze down as well. And then when it comes to them picking out what color they want, what you do is you say, hey, here's a piece of paper, like a little scrap of paper. I want you to put your name on it, and then I want you to put the number of the color that you'd like, and then put that in the bowl. And then when you clean off the bottom, what you do is you put their name on the bottom, either in underglaze or carving it. You put their name on the bottom, and then you put the number. And then when it goes through the bisque, you don't have to look back at notes to remember
Hmm.
what color that is. It's just already on the bottom,
Yeah,
and you can just glaze it the color that it's supposed to be, and you don't have to like figure it out again. It's seriously like the biggest time saver and just
I
awesome.
like that.
It's an awesome tip that I feel like if when I was had a studio, I would have been like, wow, this is life changing.
And it's subtle. It's just a number. It's not
Yeah, exactly.
you're
Like,
not
who
writing
cares?
hieroglyphics on there. You're just putting a
Right.
number.
Yeah, just a number, and it could be small, And so, anyway, if you have a community studio, consider doing it like that. It's a very good system. Um,
And I'm
and
guessing
that
they're only
way,
choosing a single glaze. They're not doing
yep,
combos or anything
one
like that. It's
color.
just one
Yeah,
color.
yeah. And that way, if you have employees, they can glaze it. You don't have to like be like, oh, that person had this, you know. So anyway, I did that, and then I have been working with the silver jewelry and doing the earrings, and I have been doing a lot of tests and the new speedball underglazes, and it's been really great. I just got a earring that I figured out how to like attach it, and I broke one of them because it was hot. It was like an immediate hot heat. So
Hot heat.
hot heat. And they're thin, right? So it cracked. But the next one I figured out how to like, work with the flame. But yeah, it's been great. I'm actually painting earrings tonight while we're talking. So, um yeah, and anyway, speaking of speedball, we should chat about how they literally just came out with is it like 10 brand new colors?
Yeah, you know what we haven't mentioned on here? We haven't even mentioned the bats.
Yes, we have.
No, we haven't. I don't
Oh,
think
we
so, unless
haven't.
you subtly mentioned it when we were doing Ensika stuff.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Well, there's new colors of bats and underglazes.
Oh my God. It's just a whole thing. And like, we haven't done a speedball ad for a month, so we've got a lot to talk about. So we've
Yeah.
got brand new colors, and also it's in the new formula. They are phenomenal. They're phenomenal. Um, I will say that the bubblegum pink, is my favorite color out of the lot, I think. It's close. The honeydew's really nice. Honeydew is really nice, but it's not the same color as the label. I want everybody to know that.
All
It
the
is
way
more
through the
blue.
firing,
Yeah.
we've only painted
It's
it on. I'm still getting it bisque fired, so
yeah, it's more blue than it is green, but it's lovely. It is so lovely. And the pink um reacts differently with different clear glazes. So keep that in mind when you guys are testing the bubble
the
gum.
bubble gum, yeah.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind while you're testing. But the colors are just so great. What colors did you get?
I got five of them. Let's see if I can remember all of them. Bubblegum, lilac, honeydew, burnt orange, and I think I got spring yellow. Mm,
I thought you got emerald.
no, I did not get emerald.
You didn't get emerald. Okay. We got very similar colors. I got honeydew, um, robin's egg, spring yellow, bubblegum, and lilac. And
Yeah.
so
You
I
didn't
wanted
get
to
burnt
make sure.
orange. You got a different color than I. Yeah, you didn't get emerald.
Listen, I am not a burnt orange type of lady. It is
It doesn't look
not,
burnt orange on putting it on and greenware because I carved it and it didn't look as dark as I thought, but I think it's going to darken up as I get through the process here.
yeah.
So,
I am curious to see if it's more pastel-y orange. They have that caramel color, and I'm
hmm
wondering if that's their like version of the pastel orange. I'm not sure. Um,
I mean,
but
they
yeah,
have peach and some of those colors are sort of pastel. You don't think
right.
peach or melon are pastel?
No, I do. I'm just talking about the new colors. Don't step on my computer, you bitch. Okay, sorry, there's a cat. We have a no. Lloyd. Okay, Lloyd for his entire life has never knocked things over. Okay, and now all of a sudden I have one cup, the cup that me and your dad share, and he knocks it over every single time. I'm like, what the fuck?
No
Anyway,
matter how much is in there?
yeah, he like tries to get to it. I think it's too like thin or something.
Wow.
Anyway, so they have brand new colors. You should definitely look at them. They're fantastic. And then they also have brand new colors of bats. Would you
Yeah.
like to talk about that?
Yeah, there's three new colors of bats. I think the official I'm trying to remember the official color names. I mean, there's a purple, teal, and pink.
Yep.
I don't know if there's fancier names for those, but that's what we got. And the pink
In
one
my
is
yeah.
Wheel Talk branded.
Hell
So
yeah.
so we've been working with
Yeah.
them for I think it's like a year coming, something like that.
Yeah.
And you can get those. Look online at your distributors. Speedball on their website has links to the different distributors, but like Clay King's
Yeah.
one of those. I think Dick Blick has some, maybe Ceramic Shop or something like that. Yeah. Just look on their site
Mhm.
and find the distributors. But yeah, we're excited. Our labels are going to be on there, Wheel Talk labels for a year.
Jeez.
So
Long time.
yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy. It's just there's so many things with Speedball going on right now, and it's just great.
yeah. So go to speedballart.com. They got all that stuff. I don't know if Becca has a jingle update for
Yeah. It's
Speedball.
SPEEDBALL Speedball.
Speed. Oh, Speedball, not
Mm-hmm.
Speedball.
Speedball. It
Nice.
changes a little bit every single time, but yeah,
It's coming. We got a whole
it's
month
coming.
of this, so
Yeah, we're
it'll
getting there.
evolve over the month.
Yeah. Um. Oh. Can I tell you something exciting about these earrings that I wanted to share really quick?
Yeah.
Is that so I've been painting them with the underglaze, right? And I've been testing clears, and I wanted like just a nice, clean, thin clear. I tested the Amico one, high fire clear. I tested the Mako low fire clear that they have for like paint your own pottery because the Beals had that. That like just
Didn't look
crawled
good.
all over the place. And then I don't know why I bought this, but I have a transparent matte clear for
Hmm.
low fire that I got from Mako, and I put that on and fired it to cone 4, and it is perfect.
Even though it's low fire,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it still
So it
matte or did it go
no,
glossy?
it's glossy, and I want it glossy.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks great.
Hmm.
So
That's nice.
yeah.
Sweet. Hopefully you
So
settled on you
anyway,
found the one. Speedball has a clear too. I don't know how that. I fired that to mid range before. It's kind of that like Pepto-Bismol color,
Yeah. I
but I
kind of
don't know how
wanted a
to
low
win.
fire clear because I'm firing to cone 4 instead of cone 5 or 6. So I want it to be really shiny at cone 4. And I feel like you can get that with a low fire clear, you know? And
Yeah.
it's not like anybody's eating an earring. So like
Yeah.
like
And as long as it's not running off of it, then you're solid.
and not only does it not matter that it's like food safe, but it's not even vitrified. Like the clay is we're we are out of the realms of clay okayness right now, so it's fine. But
Hmm.
but yeah, no, it's been great. Like I definitely need to paint on the clear instead of dipping it. It's too heavy if you dip it.
Mm.
So,
Are you hanging most of the earrings anyways, or are you laying them
yeah,
flat?
I'm hanging him because I'm doing clear on both sides.
Okay.
We have
And that's only on the
graduated,
newest pieces, right?
right. We have graduated into the fancy category of earrings where both sides are glazed.
Mm, fancy,
Yeah.
fancy.
Wow, look at us now. Look at us go.
Nice.
Yeah. So, that's great. Can you hear the train now?
I subtly heard it for a second there.
Okay. Okay. Um yeah. Oh, also, side note, there was a cat that came up to the Beals house yesterday, and she's black with little white paws and like a little white on her belly, and she was so stinking cute and so mouthy, like
Hmm.
stood outside the Beals house crying, meowing, and we gave her food, and Mila, who's the Beals' 16-year-old daughter, is in love with cats, but they are not going to let her have a cat. And 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 so Mila's like picks this cat up and she like loves her. The cat loves Mila. It was so cute and so sad because I know that she'll never be able to take her inside. And and I was like thinking about it, I was like, oh, maybe I can like maybe I can make Floyd like another cat again. It'll be fine. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah. As
it's
long as they're not
rough.
getting in fights and stuff.
I know. I think that honestly, if I wanted to introduce Lloyd to another cat, now would be the time because I have that tent, so I could put one cat in the tent and then another cat outside so they could like be
Be
next to each other.
around. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, like I'm getting kitten fever bad. Fucking bad. I want a
Oh,
kitten so
really?
bad. Mostly because I feel like this fucking cat is so bored. He is so bored. Lloyd chose to go to Menards with me today. He heard the car starting and he walked up and got in the van.
Oh.
Like, like that doesn't happen all the
But
time.
don't we assume that a second cat is gonna be good for the other cat, but it doesn't always work out that way? Like, do we really know that they're better together? Especially
No,
with
we
the
don't.
age difference. I mean, it would be a kitten, and I don't know how old Lloyd is now. What's he, 6 or 7 now?
He's 6, I think. 2018, yeah, so 6. Oh no, I think it was 2019. It might still be 5. But I don't know, like because sometimes having like a younger cat can like do that paternal instinct sort of situation, like somebody to like care for and watch out for, you know.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to, what the problem is that I don't want to like try it and then it not work and
Yeah.
us all be miserable, you know?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
maybe a visit down to see Josh at some point with his that new kitten that he's been
Oh
sharing
man,
about would be
Josh,
like a barn cat and Lloyd. Like maybe that's a
maybe. Yeah. Okay. So Joshua Heim just got a kitten. They found a kitten under the hood of one of their cars. And Joshua Heim has always been a dog man.
hmm
Always. And ever since I've known him, he's been like, "Oh, I fucking hate cats. Cats are the worst, blah, blah, blah." And when this kitten came into the picture, I was like, she hooked you, didn't she? And he was like, yeah. He's been going to the goat barn every day and chilling with this cat and having like
Yeah,
snuggles and
yeah,
conversations.
nice. He's also got goats too, so
Yeah,
I mean the girls do 4-H and that kind of thing, so
yeah,
that's why the
they
goats are
do
in
the
the picture
things.
for the most part. But
Yeah, but I just think it's so funny. I was like, yep, you're gonna become a cat dad so quick.
yeah, doesn't take too much.
Nope. All
Okay,
right.
one last thing before we go to our stuff.
Uh-huh.
You know how we're like getting the bathroom done in the future?
Yeah.
That date is now tomorrow. It's starting
Oh, I know.
tomorrow.
I saw I saw Rachel's post. I don't know when it was supposed to be, but
It was supposed to be mid-August, mid to late August.
oh shit.
It got moved up significantly because there was an opening and she was talking to me about it. We didn't have a definitive date yet. And then she said, well, he's working on this project, but they got delayed and
Because of
there's an
rain.
opening to start tomorrow.
Damn.
It wasn't rain, it was more like construction happening with the dog at the house and the dog wouldn't do well, so they needed
Oh,
to figure out another timeline where they could have the dog outside elsewhere when they're doing
yeah.
construction. Um
It's
so it's
always
starting
an
tomorrow.
animal.
Demolition, they stopped by today. We got the plan. I just ordered a bathtub and a shower rod.
How
I need
much
to
does a
order
bathtub cost?
a toilet. I think the bathtub was about 380.
380?
Yeah.
I would have expected more. Is it a tall bathtub? Tell me you did not
It's
fucking
a
cheap out on the bathtub.
No, I mean that's part of what she wanted was a specific bathtub. I
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to remember how tall ours is. I can't remember if ours is a 12-inch tub or a
Mm.
or um it's a 60 by 30 soaking tub.
Oh, nice.
60 by 30. And it's got the, the round front to it. Let's see, what's the okay, 360 and then you got tax and stuff. I think it's about what is the height on 18 inches high.
Ooh,
But I
I
don't
can't
think
wait to
that
take a bath.
so I think the depth is more like 16 inches to 14 inches, something like that.
Yeah,
Because I think ours is currently 12 inches and she wanted a little bit deeper of a tub. So
nice.
provides an additional 2 inches of soaking depth for a more luxurious bathing experience. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's happening. It's starting tomorrow.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I was a little not excited, but it's happening.
Frazzled.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't like things like sparking up all of a sudden,
I know.
and I'm like, are you okay if we don't have this done during the party? Because we have a tiki party in a week and a half, and family's coming over for a tiki party, and people are staying at the house. Are you okay if it's not done by then? Or
What'd
are
she
you
say?
okay? She said she's fine with it, as she's standing five
Okay.
feet from me for some reason. Do you need something? I'm talking. Is it urgent or important? Okay, then go upstairs.
Go upstairs. Oh my
Um,
God, that's exciting.
so yeah, it's happening. It was funny because the guy came, well, it was a few guys that came by, but he was so like shocked with the amount of detail and here's the tile, here's what we got, here's this tile, and it's not cookie cutter. I mean, some people would come into the bathroom today and they'd be like, "Oh, this looks pretty good." And then,
Yeah, and you guys walked into that bathroom and was like, this is garbage.
well, I didn't, but
Yeah.
Rachel's like, "No more brown tile. I love it."
Yeah.
So it's gonna be all the colors and she got a vintage vanity, and then we're getting some countertop made for like cut for it, some quartz countertop. So yeah, it should be pretty great when it's done. And hopefully
Are
it's
you
done by the
still
party. It's supposed to take about a week and a half to get done. So
cool? Are you still gonna have the cutouts in the shower? Oh, that's my favorite part.
Yes, there will not be the really low one, but there's still going to be the top one. I don't know if it's going to be one single top with two shelves or if it's going to be two cubbies. It's going to be a similar footprint to what it is now, but um, maybe in a single cubby instead of two separate cubbies.
Right. Oh, so
So yeah,
excited.
still going to be there. I'm really happy that other people are doing it because just sourcing everything and getting timing right is enough.
Yeah.
So
It's a pain in the
Rachel's
butt.
working on the vanity today. So I'll keep you updated about that. And if anybody wants to follow along and see how it's going, by the time this comes out, it's probably gonna be done. Hopefully it's done. Um,
Yeah.
you can look at Rachel's account at Traverse in Style. Traverse in Style. I'm sure she will do a
Crazy.
lot of sharing. So yeah.
We're like an hour in already.
Yeah. Do we want to answer one of these questions or do we want to just do the topic?
I think we should just do the topic.
All right, let's get to it.
Okay.
So the topic, there's not really a name for the topic. It's just I was listening to the book The E-Myth
Hmm.
semi recently before vacation, and there was a concept that they were talking about early in the book. I did not finish the book, but I got about halfway through. And
If you haven't noticed, that's our MO. We don't finish books. We get halfway through and then we cancel. We're
well,
like,
I
we
mean,
figured it out.
usually I never read books, so you're lucky if I even start books.
Right.
Um,
You're lucky you got him to read it all.
yeah, so
He's
well, it was
actually illiterate.
audio. Yeah, I
He's
can't read. So
he can't read, so
yeah, the book's called The E-Myth Revisited is the one that I was doing. So I don't know if there was an older version, but I assume there was.
the original
Why?
version I think was written in the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
so this was the E-Myth Revisited, and the subtitle is Why Most Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It from Michael Gerber.
All right, Gerby, let's hear it.
So the part that resonated with me, which was pretty early on in the book, was the concept of comparing the various roles that we play as business owners. And the name of these was the entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
the manager, and
Uh-huh.
the technician.
Okay.
So there are three different roles. If we're breaking them down, the and we're going to kind of talk about how we relate each of these roles to us and maybe where we fall on the spectrum of each of them.
Yeah.
Um,
It should be noted that I have read the book. It was in basement days, so that was probably 2014. So,
10 years
maybe
ago.
two,
Wow.
yeah, maybe like 2016.
Yeah.
So, I remember it, but it's been a while. So,
Yeah, it's been a bit. So I'm gonna just basically explain what the three of them are, and then we'll talk about it from there. So the way they describe the entrepreneur is the entrepreneur thinks about the future, comes up with ideas, and doesn't think in practicality. So that's like
mm-hmm.
a short one sentence about the entrepreneur. The manager is focused on the status quo, organizing and uh planning. Their planning is being pragmatic. So
Okay.
they're pretty pragmatic. And then the technician lives in the present and is the doer. The technician has to focus on getting the job done and making it work as expected. So
Okay. I would
those are the
imagine that the technician is like the hardest thing for most people, right? Or is it the
so
opposite?
they were kind of explaining the different that typically when people are working a job, usually you're working for somebody else, right? And when you are in that job, you're an individual contributor. You're essentially the technician in that
Okay.
role. You don't really care how the money gets made for the business that you work for. You don't really care about planning deadlines and company goals and all that stuff. You care about what is my job? What do I need to get done? So
And how
you're
much do I get
essentially,
paid?
yeah, you're essentially showing up. As long as you show up in the present, you do your job, you're getting paid. and your job is to focus on getting your job done and making it work as expected, like they
Okay.
said. So, um, a lot of times people that are uh, opening their own business, they're like, well, I've been the technician, I've worked for somebody else, I know that job well enough, so I'm gonna go and start my own thing because I'm really skilled at the technical part. Like I know the ins and outs of making this thing. I know that, um, I can make this work myself, and you take on the roles of the manager and
Yeah.
the entrepreneur when you start your own business because there's nobody else that's going to take care of that stuff of the business side of things. And you kind of have to start at square one with a lot of those roles and responsibilities that, you didn't necessarily have to be keen to when you were working for somebody else.
Right.
So, that's how a lot of small businesses start.
And fail.
And, it just gets you, it puts you in a tough spot because, it was talking about the technician that a lot of times they feel like the solution is to just keep working. As long as I keep working and keep getting the job done, everything can kind of work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times that, you have to put on those other hats in order to keep the business afloat. You got to keep money going in, you got to think long term. You can't just think so short term of the immediacy of getting the job done and, just heads down and I'm gonna work my ass off and it'll pay
Right.
off. So
Yeah, sometimes just working until you die isn't the way that it's gonna work.
yeah. So there was a mention that said a typical entrepreneur is only 10% entrepreneur, 20% manager, and 70% technician.
Mm-hmm.
And he's mentioning that the technician run business is seeing the world from the bottom up rather than the top down. So the technician's very in on the day to day, they're in on the making and they're not looking strategically from the top down. They're kind of just they're in the weeds and they're making everything. Especially if you don't have other people working for you, you don't have other folks that are producing the product. I mean, everything ends begins and ends with you. If you're, solopreneur, as potters, we're making every single piece and we're you know, everything begins and ends with you. So, um that's kind of the technician side of things. Are you distracted by something? What's going on?
My cat's about to throw up
Oh no.
on my bed.
Put something down.
Ah,
Throw him
no, we're
out.
good. We're
Okay,
good.
good.
I think he has an upper respiratory. Oh, there it is. God damn it.
Is it in a nice cleanup spot or is it in like a spot that's gonna soak up?
It's like on my sheets.
Okay, do we need to pause?
No, you can keep talking.
Oh, I was hoping you would chime in here because I've been talking a bit. Can you
Go
still hear me
on.
though?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll mention something else. So,
Okay, we're good. We're good. Easy up.
oh, sweet. Okay. Hopefully you get it out of there so it doesn't stink up the place.
I don't want to get too graphic, but it wasn't very wet. So that's
Okay,
good.
that's good. I mean, a lot of times our cats would throw up food and it would just literally be the solid pieces of food and not much holding it together. So,
Yeah, that's about what it was.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that interruption. I I was
One,
just like I was just looking at him for probably 40 seconds and I'm like, "Ugh."
yeah,
I think he might have like some upper respiratory issue. I've been giving him some like hairball medicine to see if that'll help, but I think I'm gonna have to take him to the vet.
yeah.
Anyway, okay. What were you gonna ask me?
Oh, I was just gonna ask you, I don't know. I mean, do you feel like you fit into that when you started, that you were a technician? Yeah, because I feel that way as well when I was starting out. I was making, but I was still I was I felt like I was more balanced of some of the other ones, but not fully balanced, but I was
Right.
very in the weeds of making and learning how to make the pieces and focusing on production and getting a lot of pieces made so that I can um, kind of iterate and sell it and very data heavy.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's kind of balancing a number of them. But I was still
You
focused
know
on
what?
making the work first.
Right. You know what's interesting is that when I started my business, I felt very, very lucky to be uh in the position that I was just because I was a quote unquote manager. I was a manager at Sherwin-Williams, and then I moved to be an office manager at a painting company. And so I learned big business and small business, and I learned like the workings of that. And so when I went into starting doing pottery full time, it was a little bit different than I would say most people. It was a fairly calculated decision. It was just a little earlier than I had planned. But
Hmm.
there was a business plan. There was like certain goals that I wanted to like get met. There was like procedures and stuff that I wanted to do. And like I'd already figured out how to pay taxes. I'd already figured out how to do all that stuff. Where a lot of people, when they start a business, they learn those or they don't, and then they get super screwed over in the future. But there's
Yeah,
a
they learn
lot
them
of
way too
that.
late when they get big enough that they should have known that, and then they owe a big tax
Yeah.
bill and it bites them.
Yeah. Let's remember that ignorance is nothing in the government. Um,
I
but
mean,
yeah, and
ignorance is in the
so
government, but not when it comes to paying your taxes and stuff.
yeah, not when it comes to paying your taxes. So anyway, I felt like it was a lot less making than I think a normal person coming into a business does. So I would say that I was probably at like 60% uh engineer, right? Engineer was the other one.
Technician,
Technician. 60% technician, and then probably like 30% manager and 10% of
entrepreneur.
the entrepreneur, maybe even 50% technician, 40% manager.
Hmm.
So,
Did you
and
have a good base level of skill?
yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
And I
So,
think we learn that in school too. If you're as you're learning
yeah,
and you go to school for it, you're not really learning the entrepreneur manager side of it.
mm-mm,
I mean, maybe a bit, but not you're learning the technical side and
right.
the reasons behind what you're making, why you're making, and meeting. In a way, you are meeting deadlines and things like that, so you do have to put a manager hat on sometimes to time manage and um, learn how to, meet requirements for assignments and things like that. So,
Yeah,
you are managing a little bit, but you're not really entrepreneuring it. You're not really doing that role as much.
right. Yeah, and it is interesting though because you do have to have all of those things. And you see so many people go into any small business mindset and they're like, well, I've been making pots for 30 years and I can do this. Well, yeah, do you know how to get on the internet? Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot
Do,
more to
do
having
you,
a business than knowing what you're doing, like in the
yeah.
craft.
Do you know where your stuff is going to sell best? Is it best photographed for online consumption and buying, selling? Is it best in person? Do people have to feel it and touch it to understand the value? Are you a good storyteller? Do you have technical skills
Right.
to, have a social media account or have a website that's organized well so that people understand what you're about?
Yeah. I'm gonna use Melissa and Eric and I'll ask them if they want to I can take their names out. But Eric has been doing, well, both of them have been doing pottery for a very long time. And Melissa is 155% the manager and entrepreneur of the team.
I
And
think he said that
Eric,
he likes to just know what to be done. Just tell me
oh yeah,
what needs to be done.
yeah, Eric doesn't even have Square on his phone. Like he doesn't even know what Square is. Like it's he is just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. And Melissa does everything else and she's very good at it. She's very good at doing all the other stuff, but she also wants to be the creative part. And I feel like, I feel like when you become more of a manager, which usually happens around the third year full time, I feel like, because you're like, oh, I have to start making money.
Hmm.
It becomes like not as enjoyable, and you're like, God, why can't I just sit down and make something? You know?
Yeah.
What do you think what percentage do you think you are now?
Now I'm thinking I feel like 10 is high for entrepreneur, but I'll say 10 entrepreneur, 50 manager, and 40 technician. Does that add up right? 10,
Yep.
50, 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying that no, I think you should flip
I think I'm way
manager.
more of a manager than an entrepreneur because I move so slowly. That's
I
why
agree. I agree with
that's why I
that.
keep the entrepreneur low, but I feel like I'm good at managing my time, other people like Erica and Rachel's what I need help with, managing other responsibilities, um wholesale consignment online like I feel
Yeah,
like
but like how
what
much time do you think you spend? How much time do you think you spend doing uh like pottery compared to like books?
mm,
Do we need the
I
Jeopardy
don't
theme
know.
song?
I mean, where does social media fall? Because if I'm managing email and social media and that kind of thing,
I feel like
is that
social
manager
media,
duties or is that technician duties?
I feel like social media's manager. It depends on how you use it. I would say you use it in a managerial way.
Yeah. I'd probably have to go the studio number, and are you including the selling at shows? That's not technician, right?
No, that's not technician, that's manager for sure. So yeah, I
Okay.
guess you're right. I guess you're right.
I mean, I would say I'm more manager than technician on a weekly basis. Um, I don't know the numbers. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd probably say I'm in the studio maybe like is 10 hours reasonable? Maybe 15 hours a week? I mean, the thing is when you get more
You
efficient
get,
at something, you can I, I don't know.
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like
I feel like
I feel
you're in the studio a lot.
and I'm not counting Erica's hours of her doing work that needs to happen in the studio as technician work, really,
Yeah.
because that's her own, that's separate from me. If that were the case, the technician would be a lot higher, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think I'm managing a lot.
Yeah. And that's why you're successful. You know what's funny is that when we get more efficient and better at what we do, like you started to say, uh managing becomes so much more important. When I would say that when you're in the beginning of your career, being the technician is extremely important.
Because you're
Being,
creating a product that is worthy of selling. Is that why? And you
yeah,
just
yeah,
need
you're
to
like
you're trying to get
you
something that's a quality.
Yeah, you need to like make something that's quality. You need to keep developing your skill. You need to like keep doing ideas like that entrepreneur slash that needs to
Manager.
like happen. Manager, well, the entrepreneur slash technician needs to happen a lot more at the beginning, I feel.
Hmm.
And then manager is like just keeping it steady. We're just
Keep the train on the
going with the
tracks. We're not
flow.
laying down new track here. We're just
Nope, we're just
we built the
figuring it out.
train. Let's keep this train rolling.
Right. And and that's the hardest thing for artists to figure out. And and it makes me laugh, but also it kind of like at the same time kind of makes me like sad to watch all these like artists and they're just like, I can't do this.
Hmm.
It's like I think I've said this before, but we really need to like pair up artists with business people and make them work together.
How do you know like the right, yeah, having that, I guess being willing to. Mm, I don't know. I feel like when you're getting going, you don't really know what to ask and what you need.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't but it's like the unknown of, you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know what to ask and you don't know what's going to be useful to you, then you kind of have to encounter it and then you kind of fall back into it, like kind of ass backwards into something. Um,
I think about those people that like accidentally go viral on Instagram and how not jealous I am of them because they have to learn that shit so fast.
yeah, it's not organic
And
growth at all.
it's not organic growth, and you have to like get your shit in order so fast. Like, I remember talking to somebody who I feel like she went fairly viral quickly. And I was asking her about something, and she was like, "Oh, I'm like completely befuddled about my finances." Like, she had no idea because it just went so quickly that you know,
Sometimes
she
you
couldn't
can
figure it out.
out earn your stupidity a little bit, where you're making so much that you can afford to make mistakes because there's money to blow there.
Yeah,
But
most of the
hopefully
time
you
you
can
can't.
wrangle it. And then you're stuck because you have to be the technician a lot more when you can't handle the demand.
Yeah.
You got to ramp up that supply and you've got to figure out, you got to put your technician hat on and really just hunker down and keep working to meet the demand. And
Oh.
do you hire somebody to help you? Are you a good teacher of the things you need help with? Are
Mm-hmm.
you good about understanding, teaching this skill might be nice in the short term, but is it going to help me in the long term and, make this more scalable or, you know, am I doing a part of my process because this is how I'm familiar with doing it, but maybe there's a more efficient way and better way of doing it that is teachable to other people, and I
Yeah.
don't have to be the sole person doing all of this. Um, and then I feel like that there's got to be some boredom that comes in when you're kind of robotic at that point. If you're meeting demand and you're just stuck in, hey, there's demand for this thing, so I'm going to keep making this thing because people keep asking for it. So then you go to work because you know you have to get work done and you have a job now. I mean, it's still a job, but now it feels more like a job.
Yeah, it's not as fun.
Yeah.
Mm, don't regret
Like
that. I mean,
you
I
left the job you
don't.
left the job thinking it was going to be great and now
Now you got a job.
you got a job. You just get all the other roles that you didn't have before as a technician for another person.
Hi, Lloyd. Nice of you to
There's a cat
come.
butt.
There's a cat, but get out of here. Ah, fucking shit. He turned off all my lights. That's okay. I
Hopefully,
got
just
it.
unplug something.
Yeah, he steps on the little switchy.
Hmm.
Anyway, there's been a lot of cat interruption today, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, mine have been good.
Yeah,
So
Lloyd's
far,
not
knock
been
on
good.
wood.
To be fair, I'm in the van, and I haven't been in the van for the last, long, long time of the podcast because I haven't had reception, and now I have reception, and so we're in the van. And of course, the table is completely full of glazes, and I'm painting, and he's like, "What's going on? Let's
Hmm.
talk."
Yeah, I feel like that's what Autumn does. So what do you think your breakdown is right now? If you had to
Oof.
if you had to guess the entrepreneur, the manager, the technician, what percentage are you
Negative
right now?
10. I'm a negative 10 entrepreneur.
Negative
I'm
10.
no, in all seriousness. I am probably at like, well, honestly, right now I'm creating a lot. I'm like, there's a lot of ideas. So I would say maybe 15% entrepreneur. And then I would say, probably 60% technician and
60, 15, that's 75. So you got 25 left for a
25.
manager?
Yeah, maybe 55 technician and 30 manager.
Okay.
I would say I mean, I think that I wouldn't say it's unfair, but I would say that I have been going through a lot, you know? Definitely not unfair, but I'm going through a lot, so it's not maybe not accurate or not applicable. Um, no, it's applicable. It's just
What's not
I
accurate?
well, like I'm going through a lot of change, and so those numbers are very like they move a lot, right?
Hmm.
Because there's a lot that I haven't, it's like this jewelry stuff I have to I'm learning
Right.
about the jewelry stuff, so there's a lot more kind of like moving in that. And then, I've started doing like the Amazon stuff. And so I'm making a lot more videos. And there's just like a lot of change, and I also am in this place where it's like I can always make money somehow. It might be a struggle, but
You
I'll
need money,
always,
find it. You're a very need
yeah.
money, find it kind of
Yeah,
girl.
I'm definitely in that stage of my life right now. And so yeah, it almost feels like it's not something that I almost don't feel like I have a business anymore. That's what it feels like.
Because you're starting over?
Yeah, I
Or
guess so.
you feel like you lost it, like you've put the pottery business
Like on
behind.
hold. Yeah. And yeah, it's kind of like a new adventure. So
I mean, honestly, you're
square
kind of back to
one.
that 10-20-70 ratio, sort
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
You said 15-30-55, so it's kind of in a similar ratio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your skill set is to a point with the technician that you can let off a little bit and balance it on the other ones somewhat.
Right. Yeah. Like I would say that the amount of work, actual work that I do, especially for the past couple of years, has been minimal, compared to the other stuff that I've been doing. And that's been great. But yeah, so I think that definitely,
And these percentages are mostly like when you're focused on the business. I think there's still like that's not 100% of your life is
right.
10% entrepreneur, 20%
Yeah.
manager, 70% technician. It's just when
Right.
you're in business mode. So
Hmm.
if there was a separate variable that was like life outside of business, there's probably another proportion there too that I think has probably increased for you with traveling and, you know, you probably spend more free time. You have more free time,
Yeah.
or it seems like you do,
Eric would say way too much, you
um,
know.
compared to maybe a year ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's very strange. I feel like I'll never be to a point where technician is high. Super, super high again, you
Yeah,
know.
you've been in there. What's the highest the technician's been for you, you think? Has it been
That was probably during Monroe shock days,
mhm,
and that was
when you were
like
hustling that week
80%.
at a time?
Yeah. That, yeah. When I was hustling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever get to that point again. And I think that that's great. But
You also
also,
have
I
physical
might,
capabilities that probably make that challenging. Like that wouldn't be healthy.
oh, right. 100%.
Besides mentally, but like physically, your hands and
Yeah, my
your
hands and
your
my body
your
and
feet and stuff,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm just a hot mess. I'm just a, I'm just melting into the ground like the Witch of the East. Wait, is it the Wicked Witch of the West or the East? I don't know.
I thought the
Never
East was
mind.
the good one, right? The East was I thought the West
Yeah.
was the
Yeah,
one
yeah,
under
yeah.
the
I think the
house, right?
West is the, yeah, I think the West is the, anyway. Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious. Okay, we were talking about how, moving on from this topic just a smidge, we were kind of talking about the franchising part, and you were like, oh, it's not really applicable, blah, blah, blah. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on that because, basically, I'll start with a synopsis of what I remember. Uh, so he goes in the book, he goes into talking about McDonald's and how McDonald's is the first franchise that ever happened in the United States, I think. And or one of the one that like became significant. And when you consider a franchise, everything has to be the same. Uh so you have to essentially set up your business so that if you have one in Kansas, it has to be it they can do the same thing in Texas. So, having handbooks, having all of these things written down and set up so that wherever you are, it's always the same. If you're going to eat a McDonald's hamburger, like I said in Kansas, it's going to be the exact same taste as the McDonald's hamburger in Texas. And Ryan was saying that he thinks it's a little bit not applicable, and I tend to disagree. So I would like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, they call that the turnkey revolution.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, well, I think it can be applicable, but my resistance was that most of us, well, I'm going to generalize, but I would say most of us that are solopreneurs want to be a focal part of our business. We're not doing this in an in a way that we're trying to get our business to a point where we're
We're gonna
not
sell it.
required. We're not selling the business. We're not trying to systematize our business so much that we can walk away from it. Sure, we want to be able to take vacations and all of that thing, but we don't want it to be running like a robot without us. Like we still want to be the face and backbone of the business
Hmm.
because it like we're creating things. It's very it's very us. Like we're making the decisions about what we're making. Um, if we want to change something, we can change on a dime. I mean, you got to be able to adjust and have the stability to do it, but we're still very focal to it. So that's part of why I was resistant to that part because the franchising just feels like I don't, it just feels less personalized. It doesn't feel like there's soul there. And I think a lot of us in our business, like we have a lot of soul behind the
Yeah.
reason we're doing what we're doing, or else we wouldn't like keep doing it because like financially it's not easier. Like time management wise, it's not easier.
Yeah.
When you've got to figure all this stuff out for yourself, there's so many other options that are available to you, or you know, I don't know. It just doesn't logically make sense at the end of the day for a lot of us to keep doing what we're doing,
Do you
but
think
somehow we push through and want to do it.
I think it's really important to like write that stuff down though. I mean, like here's why. And it's a different reason than I think you think. Okay, so I started writing all of the stuff that I was doing down after I started reading this book, and I it was not necessarily like, oh, when when I go to a market, this is what I take. Like, it wasn't necessarily key, like step by step, but it was more on the end of when I make this piece, it is this much. It is like this many ounces of clay. It holds this much. The finished products dimensions are this. The like the glazes that I'm choosing are these. And I was documenting things that in my that has definitely aided me in the future because people would come up to me and be like, "Hey, I bought this from you 2 years ago, and I'm wondering if you could make me another one." And if I hadn't been taking those notes, I could have never done that, you know? Because they I mean, I could have, but it would have been a lot harder, right? But since I documented everything and have continued to document a lot of things, then I have been able to recall certain things in the past and have seen like the progression that I've had. And I think that so in that regard, I think you can look at this with like more of a, I guess, an abstract view and kind of be like, okay, yeah, I don't need to franchise my business. I don't need to sell it to Cindy Lou Who, in 10 years, but if I keep track of all this stuff, this could help me in my future, you know?
Yeah, because the main benefit that they talk about is the system is what has value in this. It's not the product necessarily. It's not you. You're not selling. It's not about selling the product to the next group. It's about selling the system and how to make the thing,
Yeah,
and how the process is organized so that it's um like the questions that you could run into are already answered and thought through, and there's a
right.
solution already ready for it. I guess a lot of what you're talking about is kind of stored in my brain and I'm not documenting it, but I know it when I run into it because I've
Yeah,
experienced it. But like some of it, documenting the things so you can recreate that, I would say that's probably an edge case. You're not making a lot of reproduction items that you made 4 years ago,
right.
especially with your skill set now. Like you don't need the same amount of clay to produce a piece of that size that you made 4 years ago. Like you're gonna have to adjust some things because you're better at
No, but
making.
but no, you don't need the same amount of clay, but if you have somebody come to you and ask you to make that, they want it the same way, so you would use the same amount of clay that you used back then to like the
Okay.
specific height and dimensions, you know?
Yeah. I found a little synopsis. They were talking about the franchising thing,
Oh,
and
good.
it broke it down into 6 criteria. Um, the six are: provide consistent value to your stakeholders beyond expectations. I like that. Be operable by people with the lowest possible level of skill. So your
Yeah.
system has to be able to be taught to somebody with a little amount of skill.
Can't
demonstrate
read.
precision and order,
Okay.
capture all the work to be done in operations manuals, which is kind of what you're talking about, documenting,
Yep.
provide a consistent and predictable service to the customer, okay, and use consistent codes, whether it's colors, dress,
Right.
facilities. That's a little bit abstract for
That's
me, but
that's yeah, that's we don't need that part.
we're working in a studio. Yeah. The second to last one, provide a consistent, predictable service to the customer. That could be, I relate that to how I handle a customer at a show. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I go through the routine of how I talk to them and how I go about doing a checkout with them. Is that all for you? Um, and then I go through and hand it over to Rachel. They pack it up. These two things go with it. When I hand them the bag, I show it with my label out so that I know that they know that's the
Right.
business. It's me handing it to them. I said, if it's an item that can go in the dishwasher or microwave, the last thing I say is, by the way, if you'd like to put this in the dishwasher or microwave, you can do so. If it's a spoon rest, I'm like, usually I just throw this on the top rack. And it usually the last thing that's said is going to register with them. Sure, it's in the documentation, but some people don't read. And hopefully it was a pleasant checkout procedure. So like I am doing some of these things, I guess. I don't
You
know.
just haven't written them down.
I think the word franchise is a sticking point for me. And you know,
I think franchise is a sticking point for a lot of people, but it shouldn't be because it is just a word, you
hmm
know? Like we think of franchise and we think of McDonald's. Well, guess what? McDonald's made has made more money than any of us ever will in our entire lives. So, there's nothing wrong with
hmm
McDonald's, you know? I mean like there is, but in this regard. But it's, you know, we I think we undervalue how much writing things down can help some people. You know, like maybe you have it in your head, but you're also an in your head type of person.
hmm
Uh, but like, maybe somebody listening to this is like, wow, I've never written down my process before. And
Yeah.
it really would help me stay more organized if I did, and I think that that is really valuable because even when I was trying to like kind of like figure out what I was doing as a young potter, I would just write everything down, just write it down because I wanted to have it on paper and I'd make a manual for myself and be like, this is what I want. This is what I want to see this year. This is the products that I want. This is
Yep.
what this is how many ounces that cup has. This is how much it holds, and have it all in a binder ready for myself, just to get it down on that paper, just
Yes.
to
So you know
push it
it's
out of your
there when you need
brain.
it. Yeah, you don't need
Yeah.
to pull that mental strain out of your, oh, I remember, I feel like I did I write this down or did I not? Like I feel like I did, you know.
Right. And even though you think that you're not doing it, you are. I mean, like for our podcast, I cannot tell you how many goddamn notes we
Oh,
have
yeah.
on are like that are shared between our phones of
Yep.
all the things that, and Ryan does it consistently every single time. And that's the stuff we're talking about. And that's the stuff that people have issues with, like, especially people that might be ADHD, might have like some sort of tism, you know? Those are the things that people are like, oh, I should have, I should have written that down.
Yeah.
And that was something that when I worked at when not Sherwin-Williams, when I worked at Amesbury's Painting, I was all in my head, right? Everything was in my head. I could
This is the
remember
office
everything.
manager role.
Yeah, office manager role. I could remember everything, right? And my boss was like, "Nope, not here. You're not doing that shit." He was like, "You have to write everything down. Everything goes in a notepad." And so now I'm like a habitual notepadder, and I gotta have that yellow notepad, you know.
Yeah.
But and that's helpful,
Oh,
and
it's definitely
that
helpful.
And that's the type of stuff that if you can get in the habit of doing and in the habit of like literally record making, I think that it can aid to a business more than you'd think, you know?
I also relate that writing down process a lot with my day job because
Hmm.
working for corporate, there's people that plug in and out of the company all the time. So you need to document stuff because you're probably going to be teaching somebody else that thing and you don't want to have to meet with them through a Zoom call to talk through something that you could have written down and you've probably already taught it two or three times to different
Right.
people. Or you're going to leave the company and if you don't document anything, you're going to be screwed because you're going to have to like knowledge transfer this stuff a week
Hmm.
before you leave and you're going to be like, I don't know what to tell you because I never wrote anything down. Like like that's not
Yeah.
good. Like you're thinking so short term that you get a ticket that comes your way that you need to fulfill and finish. You're the technician, you're getting the job done. You get it done, but you don't document anything. So when you run into that similar ticket 5 months from now, you already did the work. You just need to, you just need to basically copy and paste and change 5% of what you did because
Right.
it's a little bit different this time, but you already used those skills to do the job before, and it's easier this time because you already know what you're doing. So,
Yeah. It's all a systems. It's all like a systems things. I feel like instead of franchising, we can quite literally change that to systems.
mhm,
Because like systems that you can share and that you can keep and that you can record. Like even Liz Cohen was talking about systems that she has that she like keeps track of all of her colors on her pieces. And it's
mhm,
little things like that that a lot of people not like we are systems people, me and you. So so we don't necessarily struggle with this, but there are a lot of people that aren't systems people. And those are the people that I think struggle the most with the business aspect and being efficient, you know? And like if they can learn to put certain systems in place, that'll increase their business exponentially, you know?
right. Yeah,
It's
I mean,
even yeah,
I take notes for tons of things. Um, and they each have their own place. I have a note that's all about my shows coming up. These are
right.
the shows that I have definite. If I have shows on the horizon that I'm like need to apply for, I keep it in the list. I put it in my list of shows, but I indent it a certain way so that I know I need to apply for it. Or I move it and I italicize it if that means that I've applied for the show, but I haven't gotten into it. And then when I get into it, I make it bold and I move it all the way over. And it's like in the list and it's definite because when you're planning for shows, you got to plan way far in advance. So, you know, if I'm thinking about a show that somebody did this year that, okay, I'm not going to be able to get to it this year, I'll remember that I need to do that. Like I set a note up for 2025 shows and I put that show on the list so that I
Right.
know that I need to look into that show and figure out, put some details in there about when does the application open? Where is the application? Like, is it in Zap? Is it on a website? What are the show dates? What are the show dates this year? Maybe it's not going to be exactly the same next year, but it kind of gives me an idea of where it falls, what other shows might conflict with it. And I kind of am always thinking ahead. And, you mentioned lists for goals. We both do. I don't know how much you do it these days, but setting the goals, like putting it pen to paper and writing them down. Even I feel like they've got slimmer over the years. I've focused on a smaller number of goals instead of a list of 7 goals. Maybe it's more like 4,
Yeah.
and maybe they're just do fire 3 soda cones, and it's that simple. It's got a number on it. I can say, did I do it? Did I not do it? It's not try new forms. It's not that vague.
Yeah.
And but yeah,
It's even like what we just did probably oh well right before you went on vacation, Ryan and I went through our calendar and we like nailed down our calendar to a point where I'm really happy with it, especially because it's got the episode that we're going to release on that date. It's got what ads we need to say for that date. And and then also we just added our like, our Zoom link for,
When we
Ryan does
meet
all the calendar
together.
stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we hadn't done this for the longest time, but we actually have a shared calendar now where I don't have to send
yeah,
individual invites to you. We just use the Apple Calendar. I didn't even know this was a feature really that you can
yeah, we
just
had no
have
idea.
one category of calendar that is shared. So now you and I have a calendar. I put it on there. It's on both of our calendars immediately. We don't have to
Right.
notify one another. We don't have to be like making sure you accept it. What email did I send it to? So Becca and I have a calendar. Rachel and I have a calendar,
Yeah, and
and
like just
so
even
much
just
easier.
little things like that that I think just even just having those little tiny weirdo systems is really what makes a business more successful. Just being able to run better, you know? I think that I remember listening to this in my basement while I was doing pots. And I think that that's what I kind of like gleaned from it the most was like franchises learn how to run their business the best that they absolutely can, and then they transfer that to each spot. And we don't have to transfer it. We just have to figure out how to run it.
Hmm.
So like we're better. We're better off, because we don't have to transfer it. But if we can figure out how to run it in an efficient way, then we're gonna be golden.
Hmm.
If you have a calendar reminder to pay your taxes every month, you're gonna be
Well,
golden,
yeah.
you know?
And now I share that with Rachel. So she now has a calendar reminder for Kentucky sales tax. And
Yeah, exactly.
I've ran into that where I paid it late. So I'm like, hey, let's just share this on a calendar so we know when it's due. And
Yeah. Ugh.
have no expiration on it. Who cares? If you delete it later, who cares? Just put it on
Yeah,
there.
for sure. Like I have a literal reminder every day to stretch my hands. Like it's just stupid shit like that. And I don't know. Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it.
I had news. We didn't talk about this, but I had news today separately. I received a package, a big package, a 2 box package
A 2 box package
on my doorstep. The UPS guy
on
was
your
like, "What
doorstep?
is this? What is this about?" Um, I was like, "It's a kiln. It's a pottery kiln." He's like, "What for like?" I was like, "Is it for a forging or glass or something?" I'm like, "No, I make pottery like mugs, bowls, stuff like that." He's like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty cool." So I got the plug and fire from L&L,
Huzzah!
2 boxes. I had to tell him to make sure to hold on to it before I got back from vacation and make sure it didn't, you know,
Get stolen.
get stuck and I did my show and it got here in like 2 days, so it was
Yeah.
pretty efficient. So got the kiln. I did not open it yet. I'm gonna document the unboxing and share all that good stuff. But looking forward to getting that.
Did your UPS driver roll it out of the UPS truck like mine did?
He had one of those carts that had the really wide foot,
Oh.
like an L-shaped cart, and he stacked the boxes
My
next to
UPS
one another
driver,
and then propped it and rolled it up and
my UPS driver literally, I think he was having like the worst day of his life. He literally just like rolled it down the steps. And I was like,
I
cool, cool, cool.
yeah, I mean it's a pretty bulky box, so he took a bit. Yeah, I'm at the end of a cul-de-sac, so he's got to go to the end of the street anyways to turn
Yeah.
around. But he took a little time getting it and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
very nice. Very looking forward to opening that.
Yeah, and if you had any issues opening it, you could just go to their website and figure everything out. But I will say that I literally looked at their instructional manual. I don't know if I told you this, but I looked at their instruction manual and I was like, an idiot could put this kiln together. It is
Right.
so freaking good. Like you'll see it and you're like, wow. It is so
from the
clear.
instruction manual, or just the number of parts is just intuitive
The
enough that
instruct
you don't
no,
really need it?
the instruction manual is fantastic. I was like, wow, an idiot could read this. Like, this is how good it is. Like,
Nice.
somebody who couldn't read could put this kill together. I have now mentioned that somebody not reading 3 times in this podcast, and I don't know why, but here we are. Anyway, um, yeah, it was just like it was a work of art, that instruction manual. So whoever your graphic designer is, L&L, kudos.
They've been hitting it hard on
Yeah.
the graphics and the how-tos and all that stuff. So
Yeah, they've been stepping up their game.
looking forward to it. Um, yeah, anything else besides where to find it?
You should buy it. You should literally buy it. It's like, especially if you're like, I live in an apartment. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Also, side note, you can fit one of those 10-inch rods corner to corner, and you don't have to hold it on anything. You can just like put it right into the kiln brick
Oh, like sit it on the channel?
on the
The
top. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
fits snug as a bug. Yeah, so that's a little trick, by the way, if you're firing beads or anything.
Wow.
But
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Find all that info at hotcams.com.
Hotkills.com. Jesus Christ.
That probably wasn't together, but
No, it wasn't.
that's okay. All right.
Uh, yeah.
There's a um there's a couple sections on here that I wrote down that I wanted to read out. So, the first part, back to the entrepreneur manager situation. Apparently this stood out that I wrote it down. The entrepreneur will build a house, and as soon as it's done, think about the next house that needs to be built. The manager will build a house and live in it forever once it's done.
Me.
It feels like me. I'm the manager. I'm like, I'm not fucking moving this house. I'm staying here.
Nope.
Fucking staying
That's
here.
absolutely you.
Yeah.
Okay, what does the technician do?
It didn't mention the technician. I'm guessing it's the
Oh.
technician's building the house, and then he's just like, all right, tell me where to go. I don't know.
Really?
And then there
Yeah.
was another part talking about it reads, ideas get in the way of doing the work. Ideas that are not related to the work at hand become a distraction and liability. The technician can't get frustrated with ideas from the entrepreneur that are typically not, oh, sorry. The technician can get frustrated with ideas from the entrepreneur that are typically not realistic in the real world and interrupt the work that needs to be done in the moment for work that never needs to be done at all, honestly. Um, and then it says the manager is a problem to the technician because he expects order and systematizes the work of the technician, often making it interpersonal and just a means to an end. So the manager's just like, here's how you need to do it. There's no like creativity. I don't need you to get creative here. I just need you to do
Right.
this A, B, C, D, E. And yeah, it kind of takes the creativity out.
And the entrepreneur's like, yeah, but could we do it on the roof? Could we like figure out how to do this on the roof? And the manager's like, no, sit down.
I feel like I relate to a lot of these different people just also in the day job of like the different stakeholders and people that ask for things. And then
Mm-hmm.
the engineers are definitely the technicians. They're like, this is what I need to do. I'm doing the thing. And then you got the people that are kind of, they know all the different people involved and they're, okay, I need to like play to what the entrepreneur wants a little bit. They're asking for this. That's pretty far-fetched. We need to let them down easy that like it's not really realistic to get this, but we're gonna give you this that's kind of like meeting in the middle, and we'll figure out how to make that work with timelines and it's you're gonna get a portion of it. Maybe it's like a phased approach where you're gonna get a little bit of something, and then we're gonna add on to it. We're gonna make it better. We're gonna get closer to your end goal, your entrepreneurial thoughts that are like kind of far-fetched, but we'll get closer to it over time, but you need to be patient. So it's, yeah, definitely relate to that.
Yeah. Ugh. P.S. If you haven't wanted to, like, you need to read this book. If you haven't read it, read
I
the
was
book.
I was looking at more of the synopsis and I need to get to this third part that's talking about building a small business that works because I feel like that talking about a 7-step process. I feel like that part would probably relate to me more and I could kind of piece it together a little bit. So maybe I'll go back to um
The
maybe
library.
I'll well, I didn't actually return it yet. I think it's due I think I got a little bit more time. So maybe I'll actually try to get to this last chunk and listen to this last chunk.
Yeah, I think I might re-listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if anybody doesn't know about Libby, look up Libby. And have you used Libby before?
Not really. Our
Okay.
library has an online system, but it's not Libby. It's something else that ties into some digital archive of books that are like digitally available besides, you
Yeah.
know, the ebooks that the physical like audiobooks that they have. Mine's in audiobook format, so it's a bunch of CDs, but
Oh, okay. So, anyway, if you are paying for ebooks or like you're like, I can't afford an ebook, there's a program called Libby and it's Libby and it's basically library books that are in w- like pretty much every library has an online system now and you can just rent them and it's like it's a regular library system like if you sometimes they have like holds of like 6 weeks,
hmm
and you can just put the book on hold and then you get it and then once your time is done they take it away from you and goes to the next person.
right.
uh and you can also get multiple libraries, so like I have like six because
Do you have to
I
show
know a lot
proof
of
of
people.
ID of where you live so that you can actually get access to certain, is it by counties or is it just a
No,
pretty
you just need a
public
library card.
system?
You just need
Okay.
a library card. So like my mom has a library card for Larimer County, and so I use her library card. But and that just gives you access to more books. But I think that the E-Myth is on Libby. I can't check because my phone's on my little antenna. But
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I just
yeah.
got on the website. I'm sure I can uh
Yeah, it's very simple, very easy. It's great. And, if you're not in a big rush to read anything, and if you have a lot of things that you want to read, it's a great system because then you can just get it when you get it.
yeah, and I'm
I know
guessing
that
you can
some
put wish
people,
lists together or just
yeah,
put,
yeah,
you know, put a hold in there for something that's got 50 people on there and then when it finally comes available, you can
right.
decide at that time.
Yeah.
Like,
And I know some people that are like instant gratification type people, so it doesn't work for them. But most people are fine with waiting, you know.
yeah. I would guess books like this that are so old, they probably ebb and flow and there's a lot of like quote unquote copies or
Yeah. Well,
versions
and
that
some
you
books
can
just
check
aren't
out.
even on it either, like there's some books that are hard to find. But obviously the not popular books are a lot easier to get. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there, I'm trying to think of each of those roles, and are there things that you're looking forward to from maybe an entrepreneur standpoint, a manager standpoint, and a technician standpoint?
Like in my life,
In
like
the
in my business life.
maybe in the short to midterm, yeah.
Um, I'm looking forward to getting to a more streamlined like making stage that is a little bit less learning. I like learning a lot, but like I find that when especially like I figured out these earrings and I figured out a way that I want to paint them and everything like that. And then I completely froze because I was like, okay, now I have to paint them, you
hmm
know? And I still don't know if they're going to be like a hit or whatever, but yeah, so I would just like to get to a point where I'm more consistent and kind of like streamline the process.
Yeah.
I
Do you
also
feel
want to be a
like
millionaire on Amazon.
that? That's your entrepreneur right there.
Yeah. No, that's my laziness right there. Actually, I'm honestly working really hard. Have you seen all my videos that I've been
Yeah,
doing?
you've been hitting it pretty damn hard for sure.
I've been doing really good.
Yeah. I think you
So,
need to be realistic about the plateau that's coming, but
oh yeah,
like
for sure.
but like pushing through the plateau
Yeah.
is, it takes the persistence to push through that.
Well, yeah, and I learned a little bit about the how it you make money and stuff like that. So, I'm not making a ton of money. I've only made $40 this month, but still,
Yeah.
$40 is $40.
Yeah.
I still don't know how to get paid by Amazon, but that is still something to be found. Done a lot of research, can't figure it out. So,
Hopefully they don't just give you credit or something.
no, it's a check, I'm pretty sure, but they pay you after like 3 months after the month. I don't know. I did put my
Or you like a
um I,
probationary period with Amazon?
I think it's so that because some people return items and you don't get a
Hmm.
commission if they return it, so they must like keep tabs on it, you know. But
Imagine the systems that have to go in place to make that work. All the like all of us love the idea of like affiliate systems and stuff, but imagine what has to happen behind the scenes to take account for that without fuckery. Like people are gonna be try to game the system.
absolutely insane. I can't even imagine it. Would never want to do it. I mean, I know they have teams that are with the affiliate program behind the scenes, you know?
Yeah,
Absolutely wild.
crazy.
Yeah.
The thing that I was thinking of, I guess entrepreneurial wise, I'm thinking, that finding my groove with the soda work and
Yeah.
understanding how to sell and market and get get s- get some consistency there. Not in the
Just
forms
start.
in the items, but yeah, figuring out my process of getting them to a state where I can take them to shows because I always drag my feet when I get them out of the kiln and then I get them partially cleaned and then I gotta finish cleaning all of them and get them like show ready.
Yeah.
And it feels like they're intruding on the pieces that are more sellable and people know me for. And it's a little limiting at my
Hmm.
shows. And then I'm also like, well, I can't have it uh too much of a footprint at my shows because then I've got to start jurying with those pieces. And what does it look like if I were to jury with those completely? And um so that's kind of my what's going in my brain a little bit these days that I'm trying to think long term, but um yeah. I think if I didn't sell online it would make it tougher, but putting
Yeah.
them online here and there is and I feel like I'm doing good marketing them online with the process and everything because it's just way more enjoyable to document that stuff and I've been filming content of other parts of my process that's not soda firing for the longest time that it's just like this is new and shiny and exciting but yeah, I think the selling part is still kind of a question mark for me
Yeah.
and will continue to be
Oh, I'm sure. I
but
am sure.
we'll figure that out. But yeah, I don't think technician wise there's anything big on the horizon necessarily. Um Manager wise, I feel like I'm coasting pretty good, but you know, Um, ma Managing the whole Rachel coming into the fold more these days is going to be a little bit of a challenge, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because it's different. It's just different with yeah, it's way different working with a partner of here's what I want you to do. Here's what like there's got to be some reasonable asks of what am I asking you to do? What do I need you to do?
Yeah.
What are you like willing to do? Like I still want to give autonomy. Like I think of Erica, like I don't want her doing the same thing every single time all the time and hate her life coming in the studio because she's got to come and, you know, glaze every day or whatever. Um and I want that same autonomy for Rachel too. And
Right.
like tell me what you want to do and what you're happy with and what you're not as crazy about doing.
How
Um
much is Rachel coming into the quote unquote fold?
um I think we would like to get to a point where she can dedicate up at least 10 hours of work a week for me.
Okay.
Um, and we kind of got to that point because her job that she was working was about 2 to 3 days a week
Mm-hmm.
working for the boutique shop. And I was saying, hey, I can pay you the same amount of money and you can
How much
work
you
for
gonna pay
me.
her?
Um, trying to
How
remember
much you
what
gonna
she
pay your wife hourly?
I think I think her job that she was getting paid 18 an hour at that
Okay.
job. So I think I think earlier this year and prior she was making 15 an hour for me because she was doing stuff here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're gonna get her to the 18 and then probably push to 20. Um and it's a little dumb, right? Because it's not dumb, but it like the dollars
It's
end
not
up in
dumb.
our account in the end of the day
It
and
is not dumb.
but it's still like it's
It's
still
important for
valuable.
her to feel like she's making money.
Yeah. Just to the business, it doesn't really make a difference. But, she and what she asked, she's like, can you just, put it in the account? Like just transfer it to the account. I was giving her cash for the longest time, and she was like, I can't really do much with this cat. Like I want it to just be like put away or whatever.
Yeah.
Because then she tends to spend it if it's cash, I guess, or whatever. But balancing she said, I don't like touching clay that much. So, I can't expect her to be mixing glazes and glazing pots, but, she's okay with prepping clay. She's fine with prepping clay. But then I've
Yeah.
got to figure out, okay, well, what else do I have her help with? Where are the voids in the business that she can help with that will help push us forward? Um, and I think some of that is having more pieces consistently online, maybe getting some systems
Mm-hmm.
down for the photography and that kind of thing. She's helped a little bit with making sure I'm organized on applying to shows and all of that kind of thing.
She's very good at that.
She's been packing orders for the longest time. So, the more getting pieces photographed and online, the more she's going to create work for herself for the packing and shipping side. And she's got that down. So, I think that's going to be an evolving um different relationship. And also it's just
Yeah.
like for me working in the house is great, but for her it's a little bit challenging because she's always got other things that she wants to be doing, right?
Right.
So getting her time dedicated to, I can give her a list of this is what I want you to help with this week. I don't care when you get it done, but this is what I want to get done. Or asking how many hours can you give me this week on the spot on a Saturday or something? And then she's got to think through all of the other things she's got going on and just say,
Right.
I can confidently give you 3 hours. And then I'm I'm pretty set. I've been working with Erica long enough. I've been working with Rachel enough. I know what is reasonable to expect for 3 hours of work
Right.
and what I can assign and what my timeline looks like for the week and what I need to get done. So, um, yeah, I feel like I'm pretty solid there, but it is different working with the different expectations and personalities and um, yeah,
It's a
but
lot.
yeah. So
Fun
we'll
stuff.
see how that goes. I'm sure we'll be in a different spot by the end of the year, but that was part of some of those conversations of her leaving the job that she was doing
Right.
to pursue her own side business of the buying and selling of vintage stuff as well as working for me
Yeah.
on the business. So, yeah.
Oof. Lots of stuff.
Yeah. This was fun. This is like a different discussion today, but
Yeah, a little different format. You know, what'd be fun, and I think a fun and good challenge for us. Are you ready for a challenge?
mm,
I'm willing to do this if you're willing to do this. I think we should choose a book each month or each every other month.
I was gonna say
And
month is pushing it. I set
I
a goal
know,
for myself to read 3 books this year. So
or maybe once a quarter. That's fine too.
I
Um,
think I've already read 3 books, so that we're in a good spot. But
okay, but like, or listen, obviously, we're not going to read it. Listening to a book and then discussing it like this. And we have to read the whole book.
yeah,
Listen, read. I think that'd be fun. I mean, I don't, it's kind of like a book club, but, and obviously it'd have to be business based,
I
you
have one
know?
in mind, but I've already read it this year. So,
What?
Big Magic. It's the one that Danny Meisinger recommended at ClayCon West.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you ever read that or listen to that?
I didn't, but I think Marjorie was listening to it and I heard like little snippets of it. Yeah, I could do that one and we could talk about it. I could listen to it the next couple weeks. Do you
It
remember
was
it still?
it was really good. I think I would re-listen to it probably.
Okay. Do you want to try to do that in the next couple of
Not
months?
couple of yeah, a couple of months. Okay. I was like, don't say a couple weeks. Let's pushing it.
Yeah,
Okay. We can make that
cool.
happen.
Big Magic. That's our next book. It's our quarterly book club.
Mm,
So if you're listening to this, you'll be listening on, I'm going to our calendar to look. You'll be listening on the 3rd of July. It is the 17th,
3rd
3rd of
of
August.
August. Yep.
It is the 17th of July right now for us. And let's do a goal of talking about it on the 7th of September. How about that?
Hmm. Okay.
Do you think we can do that?
We can try that. Yeah. So that's basically a
Okay.
month from when this is going to release. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if people want to follow along, they can also read it within this month and then we can discuss it.
It's called Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear by
Yeah.
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Cool. I love this.
All right. Getting into reading.
Cool.
Hey, I'm not a reader, but hey,
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a reasonable challenge like this, I can do 1 book a quarter. I can do that.
Yeah. And if we need to scoot back the time, we can. We
Yeah.
just, you know,
Moving in a direction where,
yeah,
yeah,
moving in a direction. But it would, if people want to follow along with us and read the book, then they'll know what we're talking about and we can kind of discuss it. So,
nice.
yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in our calendar as a talking point potentially.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay, cool.
Sweet.
Um, do we have any last words?
No. Thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
back and listen to the rest of that E-Myth. I'm gonna listen to get the rest of it. But all right. Thanks
Yeah.
everybody for listening. We will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. This podcast is made possible through the contributions of all of our listeners who always ask us great questions, leave us reviews, and contact with us through social media. Thanks to all the fellow makers as well who take time to be interviewed and share about their lives and businesses.
And thank you to Ashley from Boldover Ceramics and Lindy from Lindy Garner Ceramics for their assistance on the Whale Talk Podcast Instagram. You are invaluable. Thank you to everybody.